Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, Appium. You might be facing always a challenge to decide which tool I have to use. My company currently using Selenium. Shall I move to Playwright? Shall I move to Cypress? How about Appium? Why we use Appium? Why Appium is not used for web? It is only built for Windows, Mac, iOS, or Android apps. So today we will deeply discuss on all these four. We will also talk about what Selenium does, what Playwright does, what Cypress does, what APM does. So maybe this video will be a little longer, but I believe this video will clear all your doubts and it will be helpful for your future interviews because now a lot of companies are switching from their legacy framework to a modern framework. Lot of the company wants to move to Playwright, or they are thinking to jump into Cypress, or if they have any APM infrastructure, they want to use something else. So a lot of things happening in 2026. So we will see. There is no tool called bad tool. So everything is about how you leverage it. So again, this video is not against that. Hey, I hate Selenium or Playwright or Cypress or APM. Everything is good. If you are in Selenium, continue. If you have a good CI/CD pass rate, if you have followed a good solid principle, please go ahead. But today, let's see on deeper side on all of this. We will do a deeper analysis, we'll share the examples. So like that we will do today in this video. Okay, so now let's moving to my next slide. So I will give you overview of each framework. Then we will discuss about the architecture, how they work. Then we will discuss about language, browser support. Later on, we will do feature comparison and I will share you some coding examples. And then I will do a deep dive of Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, APM. Then we will do a performance speed comparison. We'll figure out pros and cons and then we'll identify when to use what. And then our key takeaways and recommendations from my side. So first, let me give you an overview of each framework. Selenium, it was brought to the world in 2004 by Jason Huggins. It supports Java, Python, C Sharp, Ruby, JavaScript, Kotlin, and many languages. You can go to Selenium Dev website and check it there. It follows WebDriver protocol, that is W3 standard, and it is a massive ecosystem. And for your parallel run, you use Selenium Grid. For record and play, you use IDE, and it has for all browser support: Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge, IE, all. Playwright, it is launched recently, 6 year back from now. It is Microsoft backed. It is Playwright, developed by Microsoft right now. It supports TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, Java, and C Sharp. And it uses CDP and browser specific protocol. It does not use WebDriver. It has its own auto-wait mechanism, network interception, tracing, all thing built in. And it supports Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. Coming to the Cypress, it is JavaScript only E2E testing framework, and it came to the world in 2017. It is running inside the browser, and it has built-in time travel, and you have screenshot and video recording feature, and it has excellent DX on real-time reload, debugging, and DevTools, and it supports Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Electron browser. Coming to the APM, in 2013, the APM was brought to the world. It supports iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac. And again, it is very similar to Selenium. It again it uses WebDriver protocol. It does not require any app recompilation, and it is used for automation of native, hybrid, or mobile web apps. Architecture wise, let's see how Selenium works. You are writing a test script, then you have a Selenium client library, then via JSON wire protocol, it will pass on the information to browser driver, and browser driver finally give instruction to browser to perform the actions. So it could be Chrome driver, Keycode driver, or Edge driver. Few of the things, key points is it communicates over HTTP. There is a async gap which causes flakiness, and for parallel run, it uses Selenium Grid to do the uh, parallel run in the remote machine, let's suppose. For Playwright, again, you write test script. So via WebSocket, it is connected, so you can do calls bidirectional, and also you can. It is it is async, so you can. That's why if you are using TypeScript, you need to write async await, and now it it is using browser context for isolation. Like we have different session in Selenium. Here uses concept of browser context. Key point here is it uses WebSocket. It has auto wait mechanism. You don't need to explicitly write here any timeout. So it has its inbuilt to. So that's why there is less flakiness, and it uses browser context for parallel run. Cypress, it is running in Node.js. It injects test code into the browser, so it is running inside the browser. That's why it is very quick. It's run the same JS event loop as app, and it you can also using CY.intercept. You can put a proxies network request also. Since it is inside, so key point is it is inside the browser. It is fast and reliable. You have a direct DOM access. There is no network lag, and but you cannot drive multiple tab and origin. You need to use some third-party tools in order to do that. APM is very similar to Selenium, but it is for Windows app for iOS or Mac. So here again, you're writing test script. You have a APM client library in between. Then via W3C web protocol, it will reach APM server. Then through UI Automata to XUI test, it will identify the locator, and finally the execution will happen in real devices, like any Windows app, any mobile native app, or in the iOS also. So here APM servers are middleware, and the platform driver is UI Automata 2 or XUI test, and same API for iOS and Android. Now, very much few things I discussed in the previous slide, but this is a comparison. So if you are asked in a question about language support, you can say Selenium almost support all language. Playwright also supports most of them except Kotlin. Okay, and then Cypress only support JavaScript or TypeScript, and APM again supports multiple language. Browser also Selenium supports Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Edge. Playwright is supporting 3 browsers, Cypress 4, and APM you can do any browser automation. However, APM is not for browser, but you can do it. Platform Windows, Linux, macOS for Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, and APM is for you can have more iOS, Android, and Windows also. For Selenium, you cannot do mobile automation with Selenium. With Playwright, there is a limitation. Cypress cannot do. APM can do that. Again, for parallel execution, you can use Selenium Grid, you can have TestNG, PyTest, or NUnit. So these are all available free frameworks which will help Selenium to do parallel runs. Playwright we have built-in called workers, and even sharding concept you can use. Even in Cypress you have built-in, and in APM we have a concept of APM Grid very similar to Selenium Grid. Now there are comparisons. So Automate, you don't have Selenium, you have it in Playwright, you have it in Cypress, you don't have an APM. Network intercept, you need to use third-party library for Selenium. Inbuilt, you don't have. Playwright, you can use route. Cypress does the same thing using cy.intercept. APM, we don't have. Screenshot, again, you have, but you need to use some library, and that you can do. Now in Playwright, it is having inbuilt. Cypress is inbuilt. For APM, you need to build the tool to do that. Video recording for Selenium, you don't have inbuilt. You need to again create using a third-party library only to do this. For Playwright, you have built-in. Cypress, you have built-in. APM, you don't have it. For iframe switching, yes, you have in Selenium. Playwright also have it. Cypress, for it is limited. APM, it is not applicable. Same for multi-tab, Shadow DOM, Tessner. You can just stop the screen and go through it. Now, I'm sharing here a coding example, and you see in Selenium and Playwright, just see the difference. The line of code also, you see Playwright, it is little less. You don't need to secure your instantiation driver. Then through driver, you need to do a get call, and then you are putting explicit and implicit wait. But a lot of thing now it reduced in Playwright. Here you just created browser equal to pchromium.launch, and then now browser is ready for Chrome browser is ready. Now you create an object for browser.new page. So now browser is launched, a new page is created, and then you are navigating to the URL using goto, and then you are filling username, password, and clicking, and finally doing assertion, and then closing the browser. So you see it is very easy. It looks very short, crisp, and clear in Playwright, but in Selenium you have to write a lot of code. But however, both are doing their purpose, but this is the difference you can see Selenium with Python and Playwright with Python. Now coming to the Cypress JavaScript, you say describe. So you can think it like a scenario, or you can think like a test case title, and then using inside it there are steps, and that you have cy.visit, very similar to driver.get and then or page.goto in Playwright. You have visit. Now you are navigating to that. Then you are getting the locator. Here you are using username, hash username, that is a locator name, and then your type, and then same. So here also coding is very clean, short. And for validation, you use dot should, very similar to the plain English. APM is very similar to how Selenium is. And you see here you have options equal to UI automata to options. So you are putting settings, initializing the driver settings, and then here remote driver you initialize and added all the options like device name, platform name, path of APK file, and finally you're performing the action, finding the elements, sending the keys. This is how APM code looks like in Python. Now let's do a little more deep dive in Selenium. So what is the strength? What is the limitation? So we have the largest community because it has been there since long. You use W3C WebDriver standard browser vendor support driver. You have Selenium Grid enabled so that you can use a node and hub concept and do the parallel run. You do have IDE, but not many people use it. You can integrate to any major CI/CD tools, Jenkins, GitHub Action, Azure DevOps, GitLab CI. We have a limitation. We don't have built-in weights. Reporting you need again Allure, Extend report, or any report portal.io or TestNG report. Now setup is little more complex. However, even the driver management, previously we used to keep the driver, but now we have a Selenium manager which is doing and automatically downloading the driver which we need based on the Chrome driver version or a Firefox driver version we are using. And The execution is little slow compared to Playwright and Cypress, and we don't have a native network interception. If you want to mock a data with Selenium, you cannot do it. You need to use some third-party libraries in order to do that. With Selenium 4, we got few more update. Like we got relative locator. We can use terms like near and get the locator, and we have Breed 4 also available. However, this was available anyway. Now, Playwright, if you do deep dive, yes, automate, you can do, you have trace viewer, time travel like Cypress. You can also do here, take the DOM snapshot. You can do data mocking. You can have an isolated session. So it is like an incognito mode opening using browser context. You don't have a code gen to do a record and run. This is very user-friendly functionality Playwright has given. You do have built-in test runner for parallel workers, or you do have a sharding concept also. You do have limitation. You have smaller communities and Selenium for here. We don't have a IE or Safari support. We use WebKit engine instead. And steeping, yeah, it is having a steeper learning curve for advanced feature, and it has to download browser binaries, which is more than 400 MB. So right side, you can see one of the code where uh, we are doing data mocking, and for this API flash user, we routed it, and we want it to display username as alias and role, and the next we again call that API, and then we are validating it. Cypress, again, it runs in the browser, fastest feedback log it has. You can do a time travel, hover over command to see DOM state. You have automatic screenshot on failure and video recording feature, built-in stubbing, spying and clock control. You have real-time reloading during test development, excellent TypeScript support and IntelliSense. Now we do have a limitation. We don't have other language apart from JavaScript and TypeScript. Um, it is like a same origin restriction. So however, after Cypress 12 plus, we this restrictions was not there. We don't have a multi-tab support. Is a big disadvantage. That's why I generally prefer Playwright over Cypress. You don't have any native mobile testing, and we can use anyway. This is not a limitation, I guess. We do have a feature of cy.intercept, and you can mock the API. And on the right side, again, an example of how we can do mocking, how we can do the assertions in this, and how you can navigate to any URL and perform the validation. Appium is the most powerful tool according to me, which can do the automation of iOS, Android, and Windows-based application. It again uses WebDriver API Selenium, and it supports native hybrid and mobile app with. And there is a tool called Inspect, or there is also a tool called APM Inspector for element identification you can use. And now there are limitations. It's slow, and setup is quite heavy. Even in CI/CD, you will see a lot of flakiness, and even it does not have a full gesture support, which we need, and the debugging is quite challenging in that. Okay, now in terms of performance speed, Cypress is the fastest, Playwright is second, Selenium is quite slow since it uses HTTP WebDriver overhead, and APM seems to be slower. So this is not me, it is as per the internet research. Uh, the testing was done, it is not done by me. So, but I think this will be right even if I will do the speed test. And here is a pros and cons. So you can pause screen for some time and have a look. What are the pros? What are the challenges when you use any of this tool? So I will most of the thing I have already discussed in the previous slide. So you can pause it here, read it, and we will move to the next slide. And definitely, this is one thing like, hey, when to discuss and when to take the decision. Like, hey, I want to use Selenium or Playwright or Cypress. So a lot of confusion is there nowadays. So according to me, see if you have a already a good like I say Selenium system and you have a stable pipeline, it's in 90-95% like that. My suggestion, okay, you stay in Selenium. So there is no point of jumping in and go with the flow what the world wants you to do, right? So if things are good, nice, it is you have a 10,000 scripts still they are running perfectly fine. You continue stick to Selenium, and maybe you use Selenium MCP. There is a lot of new thing coming in, and see if you can do a proper maintenance using that. However, if there is a new modern app, you don't have any infra, you I will suggest you go with the Playwright. If it is a web app or you want to do API also in that, go ahead with Playwright. But you may think why I cannot go with Cypress, because there is a lot of limitation. You cannot do automation when there is multiple tabs. So you are restricted to one language in Cypress. So my preference will still be Playwright if you get an option of Cypress and Playwright. APM is a different zone. If you have to do iOS, Android app automation on the real devices, blindly go with APM. There is option of Espresso or XUI test. So you can consider that, but that is more of a dev friendly. But if you want to code only in a one repo and you want to do automation for both iOS, Android, Windows, you better be on APM, because APM can handle everything and you won't be handling different code base. So that's where APM takes an advantage. It is little slow, but I would prefer to go with APM. Now, again, let's take some key takeaways and recommendation from my side. So don't think like one tool is best tool, this tool is best tool. It all depends on your domain, your team skills, tech stack, application type, testing requirements. So based on that, take your decision. Not like what is trendy. So if you have modern projects on React JS, yes, you better go with the Playwright. And if you are in a JavaScript ecosystem and a more developer friendly tool you want to take, go with JavaScript based Cypress. If you have a legacy system, enterprise, and very big application, maybe I think you should go ahead with Selenium, and better you take Selenium for now. If you have a mobile apps, Windows apps, Mac apps, so all these native apps, you better go ahead with the Appium. And if there is any chances to combine the tools, you can do that. However, I will not recommend, but Selenium Appium is a great combination you can combine. So with this, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for listening. And I hope you have learned something from this video. And with this, I just want to finish this video with one phrase. The best test automation tool is the one that fits your team, your application, and your workflow. It could be Selenium, Playwright, Cypress, or APM. So thank you. I wish you good luck. Bye. Take care.